Hello, and welcome to the Statement Generator demo, Part 2, showing features and settings. In this demo, I'm going to focus mostly on the Filters tab. Part 1 showed the Output and Statement tabs, and in this Part 2 video, we're going to show the Filters tab, which is the main tab where most people spend most of the time setting their filters and settings for generating statements. On this tab, we see that there are 5 different levels at which you can filter your statements. One is at the account level, which is all these filter settings and within this group box here. One is patient level settings, statement level, sequence level, and finally charge level. So you can select whichever level of granularity or even all levels of granularity for what criterion you wish to generate your statements. Our statement generator for MicroMD is natively multi-practice. So at the account level, you can select if your database is multi-practice, you can select which one or several or all of them, all practices which you would like to generate statements for. Keep in mind that the licensing tab, you have to have a valid license code for each practice for which you want to generate your statements. So if you only have, let's say if you have 3 practices and you only have 1 valid license, it doesn't matter if you select 1, 2, and 3 for all practices, it will still only run against those practices which have valid licenses in the first place, and will ignore any others that are selected for your filter criterion. If the field is left blank, the generator treats it as if you're wanting to select all of the fields. So if you want all accounts, leave it blank, all practices, leave it blank, and so forth. The account level setting here is essentially what you would expect. So you can set, let's say, 1 through accounts level 1 through 1,000 today. And then tomorrow you can do 1,001 through 2,000 and so forth, and run in batches and sequences like that. The last name, this is useful for cycle billing. You can filter for, let's say, last names A through M today and then N through Z tomorrow or something like that. The cycle billing section this is more similar to the medical manager cycle billing than to MicroMD cycle billing. So if you're familiar with that, this runs more along those veins. But here you can select the number of days since the last statement or since the last visit. So if you don't want to print out a statement if it was generated in the last X number of days or in the last X number of visits, you can set that on your cycle billing. And the bill type you can set to none or bill or statement, just like in MicroMD. And then you have the option to show zero balance accounts if you would like. By default, it's off. It sometimes doesn't make sense. Usually it doesn't make sense to show accounts with a zero balance, but sometimes some practices like to actually see all the statements, even those that have zero balance. So you have the flexibility to select that. And you have the ability to include or not include pre-collection accounts. Next, we have patient level filter criterion. Exclude deceased. This works on family billing as well. So if there's an account 123.2 where that patient is deceased, you'll still get the full super and sub accounts that are not deceased. So if you have a 123.0 and 123.1, those will still get generated, and you'll see statements for those even though there is a sub account that is deceased. You can select the category, location, and provider. So if they want to run for some reason only a single provider or set of providers, statements for those, you have the flexibility to select that for whatever location that you'd like. You can run it against various offices and various categories and so forth. At the statement level, we can select for minimum balance or minimum amount due. If it's unchecked, it'll just select all statement level criterion. But if you check it and it's 0, it'll generate statements with a minimum balance of 0, but it won't generate statements that go below 0, like, such as refunds. So we can actually set this and say maybe have only statements that have for $1 or higher, because maybe it's not worth even generating the statement to send out if you're not going to collect on it for less than $1 or $10 or whatever. Sequence level, you can check to show zero balance sequences. Now mind you, this is different than showing zero balance at the account level. This is down to the sequence level. And you can include or exclude sequences with copays. This is rare, but at least you have the option to have that. And by default, the show zero balance is checked off, since we don't really need to have that many statements being shown. And then down at the lowest level of granularity, at the charge level, we can filter down on the charge level on both posting date and service date, one or the other or both if you want. We provide showing the earliest open day sheet, here marked in red, for your convenience. So this gives you a visual clue for when to set your posting end date. Maybe you want to do it for a day before or so that you know everything is finalized on the statements before they get sent out. You can actually even filter on which billing provider a specific charge shows up on the statement. You can include or exclude whichever ones that you'd like. And we also have the ability to filter on showing patient responsible or insurance responsible, one or the other or both. Almost always you'd want to have the patient responsible showing. There may be some unique situations where third-party billing services don't want to see patient responsible, so then you can uncheck that, but usually you'd always want to see that. And you can decide to whether or not you want to show or not show the insurance responsible on your statements that go out. Keep in mind that this is all at the charge level and not at the sequence level. So if you want to filter on which charges actually come through or not, you have the ability to select on this. So you can filter it down at the charge level. And finally, the show zero balance charges. If you show it if you show these statements at the sequence level, so on the output tab, you can have the payments shown at sequence level. You definitely want to have, usually you'd want to have this checked, but if on this output tab you're already filtering down on the charge level, you might not want to show all the zero balance charges coming through, because that might be just too many.